I want to show you a number before I say anything else. If you take $3 a day, the price of one coffee, one snack, one thing you won't remember by tonight, and you point it somewhere else for 30 years, it becomes just over $110,000. Not $3 times 30 years. $110,000. And when I first ran that math for myself, sitting at my kitchen table with a receipt in one hand, I didn't believe it. So I ran it again. Same answer. Here's what made my stomach drop. I wasn't broke because I couldn't find $3. I was losing that $3 every single day, in ways so small I never once felt them leave. That's the part nobody tells you. The money that decides your future doesn't disappear in the big, dramatic purchases. It leaks quietly in amounts so tiny your brain files them under doesn't matter. Stay with me, because the reason this happens isn't laziness, and it isn't a lack of willpower. It's something built into how the whole thing is designed, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Let me take you back to the receipt. I was 31. I made enough to be comfortable and somehow never was. Every month felt like running on a treadmill someone kept nudging faster. That particular night I'd added up a week of spending, just curious, and there it was, $41 on things I couldn't remember buying. A coffee here, a delivery fee there, an app subscription I forgot I had. Rounded up, it was almost exactly $3 a day, evaporated into nothing. And my first instinct was the one you're probably feeling right now. Guilt. I told myself I was undisciplined, that I needed to try harder, grip tighter, cut everything. But that instinct is a trap, and I want to pull you out of it before we go one step further. This has almost nothing to do with discipline. It's a sequencing problem. You're spending first and saving whatever survives, and nothing ever survives. Flip the order and the entire game changes. Sequencing problems are invisible until someone points them out. Consider yourself pointed at. There's a word I came across later that stuck to me. The Japanese have a concept called kaizen. I'll come back to what it really means, because it rewired how I think about all of this. But hold that word for a second, because first I need you to meet Daniel. Daniel was a coworker of mine, quiet guy, drove a 15-year-old Corolla with a cracked bumper he never fixed. We all assumed he was struggling. He brought lunch from home. He wore the same 3 jackets on rotation. When we went out, he'd get water and say he wasn't hungry. And behind his back, people felt a little sorry for him. Then Daniel retired at 52. Paid off house, no debt, a portfolio that threw off more each year than most of us earned working full-time. The man we'd quietly pitted had been quietly winning the entire time. Here's what he'd done. Starting at 24, he moved a small amount into low-cost index funds automatically, every payday, before he ever saw it. It started at $40 a week. Just 40. He raised it a little each year, never dramatically. He didn't pick hot stocks. He didn't time anything. Historically, a broadly diversified U.S. stock portfolio has returned roughly 7% a year after inflation over long periods, and Daniel simply let time do the heavy lifting. One clean lesson from him, and I want you to write it somewhere. The person who looks like they're losing is very often the one quietly winning. Now watch what that does to the story you tell yourself about people who look rich. Because there's a second character, and his name was Marcus. Marcus looked like success. Leased German car, watch that cost more than my rent, the apartment with the view, the dinners photographed and posted. If you'd asked any of us at 30 who was going to be wealthy, we'd have pointed at Marcus without hesitating. We would have been wrong. Marcus was running a treadmill too, just a more expensive one. The car was $350 a month he'd never see again. The watch was a swipe he was still paying interest on. Every raise he got, his lifestyle rose to swallow it whole. Economists have a plain name for this, lifestyle inflation, and it's the quiet reason high earners stay broke. A meaningful share of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, and that includes people earning 6 figures. Marcus was one of them. The costume of wealth was eating the reality of it. He was buying the look of the destination and never actually leaving the driveway. Sit with that contrast for a second. Same age, same city. One looked rich and was broke. One looked broke and was free. The only real difference between them wasn't income. It was direction. And this is where I have to say the uncomfortable thing out loud. The whole world around you is engineered to keep you spending that $3. Every feed you scroll is a showroom. Every app is optimized to shrink the distance between wanting and buying to a single tap. You are not weak for leaking money. You are swimming against a current that was designed, tested, and refined to move you. Naming the current is the first time you get any power over it. So let's go back to that $3. And let me show you what it actually costs. We treat small purchases like they're competing with the cheaper version of themselves. The nice coffee versus the cheap coffee. But that's the wrong comparison. And it's the comparison that keeps people poor. Your $3 a day isn't competing with a worse snack. It's competing with your freedom. Run it forward. $3 a day is about $90 a month. Put $90 a month into a broad index fund earning around 8%. and in 10 years you've got roughly $16,000. Keep going. 30 years, and it's more than $130,000. Most of which you never earned by working. It was earned by patience. You didn't do more. You just stopped leaking, and pointed the leak at your future instead. Read that again slowly. The purchase you won't remember tomorrow is quietly bidding against the version of you that gets to stop working. Now here's the part almost everyone misses. It's not really about the $3. It's about what the $3 represents. The decision to point money forward instead of letting it drift. And the reason this matters so much is a force most people nod along to and then completely underestimate. Compounding. Growth on top of growth. Your money earns, and then those earnings earn, and then those earnings earn. And the curve doesn't rise in a straight line, it bends upward, slowly at first, then almost violently at the end. Let me make that real with a woman named Priya. Priya started investing at 22. Not much, the equivalent of skipping a few takeout orders a week. Maybe 50 a week automated straight out of her account. She stopped adding new money entirely at 32. 10 years, then she never contributed another dollar. Her friend Tom started at 32, the exact year Priya stopped, and he invested the same 50 a week faithfully for the next 30 years. Tom put in 3 times as much money over his life. When they both reached 60, Priya, who'd contributed for only 10 years and then walked away, had more. More than the man who invested for 3 decades. Because her money had an extra 10 years to compound. And those early years were the ones doing the quiet, exponential work. One clean lesson. The most valuable ingredient you have isn't money. It's time. And every day you wait, you spend some of the one thing you can never buy back. That's why the $3 today beats $30 a decade from now. It's not the amount, it's the runway. Now let me finally give you that word I parked earlier. Kaizen. It doesn't mean a big transformation. It means the opposite, a small, continuous improvement. 1%. A nudge. The idea that you don't fix your whole financial life in a heroic weekend of budgeting and shame. You change one tiny default and let it run. Daniel didn't have superhuman discipline. He had one good system he set up once and then forgot about. The automation did the discipline for him. That's the secret hiding inside all of this. You don't need more willpower. You need one better default. If this is landing, take a second and subscribe. This channel breaks down the real numbers, the quiet ones, every single week. Now, the next part is where it separates the people who talk about money from the ones who quietly build it. Because here's the reframe I promised you at the very start. Once you understand all this, your eyes change. You walk through the world and the people who look rich, the leased cars, the watches, the curated lives, start to look like Marcus. Stretched, anxious, one bad month from the edge. And the plain ones, the ones in the old Corolla bringing lunch from home, start to look like Daniel. Calm, unbothered, free. The costume and the reality trade places right in front of you. Looking rich and being rich turn out to be nearly opposite activities. Because every dollar spent looking wealthy is a dollar that can't be used to become it. Let me introduce one more person, because she's the one most of you will actually recognize in the mirror. Her name was Elena. Elena wasn't reckless. She didn't blow money on anything flashy. She just never pointed it anywhere. Her money arrived and drifted, a little here, a little there, all of it defensible, none of it directed. She wasn't losing to Marcus's flashiness. She was losing to drift. And drift is the most common way people stay stuck, because it never feels like a mistake. There's no single purchase to regret. Elena's problem was that she was steering nothing. You cannot steer what you refuse to look at. The day she automated $90 a month out of her account before she could feel it leave, she stopped drifting. She didn't earn more. She just aimed. So what do you actually do? Not the intimidating version. The calm one. Start by asking one honest question before anything you buy this week. Is this worth more to me than a piece of my freedom? Not every time. Just enough to wake the muscle up. Then automate. Move a small amount, whatever genuinely won't hurt, out of your account the day you get paid, before your brain ever sees it as spendable. 90 a month. 60. 40. Like Daniel. The number matters less than the fact that it happens without you. Park it somewhere sensible. A high-yield savings account for the money you might need soon. And for the long game, the calm, boring corner of investing, a low-cost, broad index fund that owns a little piece of everything and asks nothing of you but patience. Then mute the feed. Unfollow the accounts that make wanting feel like needing. You're not depriving yourself. You're removing the current that's been pushing you. And stop measuring yourself by where you are today. That's the trap that makes people quit. They look at a small balance and feel foolish, and they stop. But your balance today is not the story. Your direction is. A small number pointed forward beats a big number drifting nowhere. Trajectory over position. Always. If this opens something up in you, watch the one I'll point you to next on building your financial foundation from zero. It's the natural next step. and it walks through exactly how to set the whole system up without needing a finance degree or a big salary. Now let me take you back to the kitchen table. Same receipt, $41, $3 a day, gone into nothing. Except now, when you look at that receipt, you don't see a coffee or a delivery fee. You see a fork in the road. One version of that $3 is Marcus, the costume, the treadmill, the quiet anxiety underneath the good lighting. The other is Daniel, the cracked bumper, the calm, the freedom nobody saw coming. Same $3. Two completely different lives, separated not by income, not by luck, not by some secret rich people know that you don't. Separated by direction. You were never broke because you couldn't find $3. You were just never shown that the $3 was a decision. Now you've seen it, and you can't unsee it. So the only question left is the one you'll answer without even noticing. Tomorrow, when the little purchase appears and asks for its $3. That's not a coffee. That's a vote. Point it forward.